Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest today is Gayle Nowak. We're going to be talking about something really, really close to my soul, creating soul-aligned visibility. When you create soul-aligned visibility, you feel free and empowered to share the message, the magic, and the medicine in the world. That is what it's all about, isn't it? To share. Find that something that means something to you and share it. So she says that as a child, she'd learned to make herself invisible in order to feel safe. Despite that, her ability to touch audiences emerged when her four H children, what's that? Four children,
Or age. Yep.
all right, okay, we have to find out what that means. And youth leaders consistently asked her to lead performances and deliver testimony and speak from the heart. Her adult journey to heal her childhood trauma and visibility wounds had led her to create and direct yet tender spaces for audience and clients, and committed to being authentically seen, heard, felt, the work that wants to come through them, because everything wants to come through you, folks. It's not coming around you, it's coming through you. Healers, coaches, and the new earth leaders use empathic gifts to naturally see people with the eyes from their heart. Yet, how many of us have the desire to be seen and to be heard, but we ignore it? As a result, it is common to share your story, your message from wounding rather than from the way you naturally designed to be visible. So when you create that soul-aligned visibility, you feel free and empowered to share your message, your magic, and your medicine with the world. I love this medicine of the world. We are the medicine of the world. People don't realize that, right? Everybody's looking for something. We are the something. And when we realize that our trials and our tribulations and all those traumas and everything that we have been faced with was to discover our courage, discover our strength, discover our abilities, to step into our own presence and essence and the gift that we are, we realize we are the solution to the world. But very often we're looking on the outside and not on the inside. Welcome, Gayle.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me. And I love how you just summarized that. I couldn't have said it any better. And yeah, exactly. Our traumas, our triumphs, our tribulations are here to leverage us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We're inclined to run away from it, isn't it? It hurts too much. Why did this happen to me? Is it something that I did wrong? Am I unworthy? Did I deserve this? Or, why did I deserve? And we get so caught up in that we don't actually stop to see the lesson in it. And the only way you can see the lesson in it, or the skill of the tool or the gift of it, is the willing to go through the process.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And visibility is one of those things
Mm-hmm.
that triggers us.
Yes.
It triggers that stress response. It triggers that scary self-talk. And exactly what you said, we're wired to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And we are naturally wired to move away from pain. And also we live in a society and in a world that gives us messaging that conditions us not to feel and to be disconnected from our heart
Yes.
and to push down and suppress those feelings, when actually it's those feelings that have really powerful messages and medicine for us first. And they really need to be voiced and honored and heard by ourselves first, in order to have that deep level of healing and transformation, where we then shift out of that stress response of fear and anxiety or anger, and really into that more empowered energy. So that's what my work is all about. That's how I support my clients. I have a traditional practical background in marketing and journalism and communications. And I started out my business with a more pragmatic and strategic
Mm-hmm.
approach. And all of this other stuff was sort of happening organically, like this healing piece and people getting really triggered about sharing their message and sharing their story. And this goes so much deeper than stage fright, you know.
Yes, yes.
It's so much deeper than that because really I work with entrepreneurs, I work with speakers and authors, people who are they are their brand, they are
Yeah,
their story, they are the
yes.
face of their business. And so it's deeply vulnerable and personal. And so it brings up all your stuff.
The big word you said there, which I think is the greatest gift you can give to yourself, but the greatest gift you can give to other people, your vulnerability.
Mhm.
When you are strong and safe within who you are, you can reveal your vulnerability because nobody else can touch it, right? But when we're vulnerable because we feel we're going to be judged, we're going to be criticized, we're going to be damned, we're going to get all of that, and we're affected by those outside sources, then our vulnerability, makes us feel insecure. And it's not a good vulnerability. But that
Right.
vulnerability to say, I am, this is me, in all my flawsomeness, which I love this word flawsome, where we all have flaws, but we can be awesome because of it. When we're in that flawsomeness of this is my vulnerability, but everything I have been through has created who I am today. And I respect your opinion, but it will not have an effect on me in a way that it will shatter me or break me down. Been there, done that. I'm now in my strength, which is my vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly. And you said the word safe and
Mm,
safety. Like
mm,
safety is paramount.
yeah.
And I a lot, well, let's just face it, many of us, maybe all of us, have experienced trauma,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Pretty well, who hasn't?
Who hasn't?
Yeah.
Right. And
In some
and
form
I
or
don't
other.
mean to sound glib about that.
No, no,
It's
it's all
more,
different levels. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, right. It's more like let's be upfront. Let's
Mm,
have that conversation about
yeah.
it. And safety really is the key to being able to go to those vulnerable
Yeah,
places and to
yeah.
share authentically. And I know what it's like to share vulnerably and not have that level of safety and kind of re-traumatize myself in the process.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like and how it feels to have and cultivate that safety and share the same exact experience from that place. And that's really what I'm all about for my clients, is creating the trust and
Mm-hmm.
creating those safe containers first, and really working on energy first
Yeah.
before going into the more practical pieces and strategy like messaging and story and all of that.
Yes. I mean, that you don't even want to approach that until you've done the other. And if you
Right.
want to feel safe in your vulnerability, that's the work that we need to do, is to get to that safe space that it doesn't matter what happens or what's said on the outside. I know my truth. I know
Right.
where I am. I'm safe here. I
Mhm.
have no control of what other people think. No control. And I think this is once we give that control up and we realize that it doesn't, as I say, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm somebody's strong cup of coffee. Not, I'm not going to be one size fits all. I'm not going to suit everybody. And that's okay. Some people are going to see me in this light. Some people are going to see me in that light. That's okay. If people come up in arms and are really vicious and nasty towards you, that isn't okay. But again, it's their issue. Don't take it on. Because when you're strong and safe within yourself, you realize that's the outside. It's not your inside.
Right. Right. And that takes getting to that place. It takes practice.
Yes.
It takes a certain level of healing and a certain level of transformation, boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, it takes a level of emotional maturity. And frankly, like I think part of what's going on in our world is that as a human collective, we are emotionally and spiritually maturing. Right? Like I
Yes,
sometimes
yes.
joke with my
Thank
friends and my
God.
yes, right. I joke with my friends and my family and my colleagues of like we're a bunch of middle schoolers running around
Yes,
right now.
yes. And sometimes toddlers.
Right. Right. And it's a part of the reason that I really care so much about this is because I know what this is. I
Mhm.
know deeply the pain of not feeling safe
Yeah.
to be seen and to speak the truth and to be unsupported and alone and frozen in fear.
Mm,
I also know that healing, I mean, now I know that
mm.
healing and lasting change is possible. And I'm sure there's been a lot of guests that have been on your show who have said something along the lines of, if I can do it, I know others can do it too. And it's
Yes,
true. It's
yes.
true. Um, if it's all right, would it be okay to share a little bit of my
100%.
story?
100%. Go ahead.
Yeah. I grew up in a toxic and dysfunctional and abusive family. When I was 9 years old, I was sexually abused by a family member.
Mm.
And unfortunately, that's not an uncommon thing in our world.
Unfortunately, it's sickening that it's not uncommon.
Yeah. And at the time, I was terrified,
Mm.
Sarah, that if I spoke up, all hell would break loose and I would be taken away from my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stayed silent for 5 years until it became too painful for me to keep quiet about it any longer. And when I finally told my family, I had all this story and
Mm.
all these fears about being taken away and never seeing my family again, and everything that I was afraid of actually didn't happen.
Exactly. Yeah,
It didn't happen. My abuser denied everything.
of
No one
course.
believed me,
Hmm.
and I was left to deal with it on my own.
Yeah,
And that's for a 9-year-old,
yeah,
for an 11-year-old, for 14,
yeah.
whatever age.
It's
That's
heavy.
shocking.
Yes.
It's shocking. It's confusing. It's like, how can they not believe me? How can they not
And
support me?
but how, what I don't understand is that you can see when your child is telling you the state of being that they're in. It's not like all brazen, "Oh, guess what happened to me?" They can see from the body language, from the tone of the
Right.
voice, from the fear, that this isn't a made up thing. This is your child that you are the custodian of, to protect, to guide, to nurture through life. And yet you choose not to believe, you choose not to be supported. That I'm afraid I've never been able to understand.
Yeah. It took a lot for me to understand,
Mm.
from my adult perspective, I
Yeah,
understand it. I do. I don't necessarily agree with it,
right.
but I do understand it, and I can see why it happened. But as a child, it
Yeah,
was just like no one's coming to protect me.
you're abandoned.
I'm abandoned. I have
Mm.
to protect myself. And the way that I did that was by making myself scarce,
Hmm.
by not being a target, by not being vulnerable, by not being visible. And that strategy worked for me.
Yes.
I knew, the second I hit 18, I was out. I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm gone. Right. But to get there, I had to be hyper vigilant. I had to, basically, like I said, like not be a target.
Yes.
I
Under
made
under the
myself
radar, so to speak,
invisible.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. And
exactly.
and that's the time too where you're in discovery of life. That is the wonderment of, where am I going? What am I going to be doing? What's my purpose here in life? And that's when a parent, and I have 3 kids, and the exorcist thing, their head spinning around, gray hairs with their names written on it. I know that teenagers can be a handful, but at the same time, it's also the time that you really need to, I kind of give them space, but be there for them. With those kind of profound questions or confusions in life, and for you to feel that you just want to be the dust under the carpet and not seen
Right.
and not heard, is it not only sets you back, but when you are in discovery out there on your own, you're not prepared for what's out there because you
Right.
can't hide in life as much as you
No.
would like to. You can't hide in life.
Right. Right. And that's exactly what started happening in 2013 with my business. I was hiding out. I was holding back. I looked visible. I had all this marketing background.
Right.
So I actually looked very visible, and I was still hiding out. I was at that time, I was helping my clients find and create and share their signature stories as part of their visibility efforts. And I wasn't sharing the
Uh-huh.
story, or that part of the story that I just shared with you. Um, Even though that's, now I see it, right?
Yeah.
Even though that's precisely why I can hold a
Mm,
safe and loving and
yeah.
non-judgmental container of support for my clients. I couldn't, it didn't
Put the
make
two
sense
together.
to me
Mm,
then,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, I didn't have a support system at that time to, number one, first recognize and name that it was trauma,
Yes.
unresolved trauma, and that actually was informing the creation and the evolution of my business. And number two, I didn't have someone guiding me in navigating that
Mm.
responsibly for myself and for others. So
You
I
know,
just kind of fumbled my way through it.
right. Well, the intuitive side of you knew what your clients needed,
Right.
but you couldn't live the story yourself. So it was a classic thing of teacher, do as I tell you to do, but not as I'm doing, right? And
Right.
and at some point, the pushback is there.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, the pushback was there. Right.
And by the way, if you're watching this video, we've suddenly swapped screens. Something's been going on with Zoom lately, and it's been doing this. So we suddenly seem to be in different things. I don't know what it's doing, but it's been a bit psycho this week. But um, we we can push back and we can ignore, but I kind of call it the cosmic tap on the shoulder, the nudge, nudge, wink,
Mhm.
wink, and then all of a sudden a whackaroo, cosmic two by four. Can you hear me now?
Yes. And
Right?
that's exactly, Sarah, that's exactly what was going on. My heart was saying, tell the story. And it was,
Yeah,
it was that still quiet voice,
yeah.
tell the story. And of course, everything else was, no way, I'm not
Mm,
telling that story. Kind of like the the child, the petulant child, like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I refuse to do it. Well, so there was that that inner push, but externally,
yes.
my old ways of
Mm,
doing things, of like, I'm going to set goals and I'm going to achieve
yeah.
them, and it's going to work for me, wasn't working anymore.
Yes.
I had
As-
maxed out my credit cards.
yeah.
you know I was on the monthly revenue roller coaster, so I was really feeling the financial pressure. So the combination of that inner nudge,
Yeah.
this was my soul, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
this was my soul calling me forward.
Yes.
And then the external circumstances, right, reflecting back to me, you've got to do some work around this.
Yes. And
um
you know what to do because you're doing it with your clients.
right.
Now be your client.
Right, exactly. But I felt all the things,
Yeah.
I felt doubt, I felt stress,
Mm,
I felt fear. I mean, it was off the charts, and that excitement about my business was turning into anxiety and
yes.
dread and despair. And like, that's not a great place to be serving clients from,
No.
right? So I
Or
knew I had
serving
to do,
yourself. Or
or
serving
serving
yourself.
yourself,
And
exactly.
and that's kind of the difference. I'm always saying that there's some shows that go under business and they go, well, why is this under business? Because you are your business.
Yeah,
It
right.
doesn't matter what your business is. You are your business. You are your business in life. And if you can treat yourself sometimes as the client that you know you should be, turn your own tables on yourself, that's when you can start seeing things more holistically and what to do. And the thing about we're so busy. I mean, this was me too. As a spiritual counselor, I'm a true colors coach, and I was out there to show everybody who they were, how to navigate through life. And I'm a possibility seer as an empath, so I would see the path that lay before them. But I was not paying attention to the path myself
Yeah.
because I had been brought up like you, a kind of you were not seen, but for me was nothing was expected. right? I was a very sickly child growing up, so I missed a great deal of school. I academically was not there. I didn't know I was dyslexic until 21. I
Mhm.
had because of asthma, had been in and out of hospital, lots of oxygen loss, so kind of the little brain thing going on there, right? And I was different because I came very much from this intuitive spiritual path. And it was the expectation of me was low. And for a long time, I lived in the low
Mm.
because
Mhm.
that's all I thought it was. And then it was like, hang on, what's the advantage of this? Nobody expects anything from me. So whatever I do is going to be a surprise. And so I
Right.
can really, really explore. But it's been for me, I would say in the last 25 years, the biggest journey of my life of who is Sarah? What am I really here to do? How am I meant to do it? Who am I here meant to serve? And can I do it without apologizing for it all the time?
Yes. Right.
Because isn't that something you do all the time? We apologize. We apologize, but what are we apologizing for?
Right. Right.
That that imposition of you being invisible or us being small or not enough or anything, that again is somebody else's interpretation from a mirror of themselves. And yet we're apologizing for being who we are. The
Right.
person we need to apologize is to ourselves for not giving ourselves the same love and attention that we're busy giving everyone else.
Yeah. You're speaking my language. Yeah. I mean, it's really about um it's about really seeing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and really having
Yes.
that compassion and that love, like really deeply
Yeah.
and lovingly looking into yourself and listening,
Mm-hmm.
listening to your heart, voicing what's true for you. Do it, like hearing it for yourself.
Yes.
That was a big piece of my own healing journey of, because part of that childhood trauma um was all the inner critic stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like I was to blame, I did something right,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I was kind of just caught in that
Yes.
cycle. And it's so hard we're so hard on
Oh
ourselves.
God. How many times do you have to tell yourself to shut up?
Yeah, right. No, I literally remember like throughout like a lot of my adult life just saying, God, I am just so sick of myself. I'm
Exactly.
so sick of hearing
Yes.
the negativity.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like, oh, I can give from my adult self, I can give myself what I needed then by
Yes.
being loving and compassionate and validating and not judging
Right.
and not
And not
apologizing.
apologizing and no
Right,
permission needed from anyone else other than yourself.
right,
And if for you going into that beautiful innocent child whose innocence and visibility was taken away from her to
right.
say, I see you, I hear
I see
you.
you. I hear you. You're
Yeah,
not alone.
you're not
Yeah,
alone. I want your voice in my life.
yeah,
Come out of the shadows, right?
exactly.
And it is work. A lot of people think that, number one, we've got to realize there's a pattern there that we need to change. We've got to realize there's something that's happened in our life that was that significant change. That it could have been one or two things. It could be one significant thing, but the when did I start retreating from the world, or when was I too scared to speak out? Um, and then I think that is something when we realize, and then we start looking at, oh, okay. And then it's like, but why did I retreat? Why couldn't I stand up? Why couldn't I have a voice? What was I scared of?
Right.
Right. And most of the time, we're scared of punishment, we're scared of ridicule, we're scared of judgment.
Judgment, getting kicked out of the tribe. I
Yeah,
mean, all of
exactly,
it.
exactly. But that's all exterior. I mean, quite honestly, even if we travel with a tribe in life, we're still traveling alone within the tribe. The tribe is it's like the orchestra. There's my analogy all the time. We're each an instrument. We learn how to play it. Yes, we can be solo, but when we come together in harmony, each and of our own strengths, we transcend and ascend that music to
Right.
a beautiful level. But we still have to be abundant within ourselves to be a part of that orchestra. And if we're in that orchestra feeling vulnerable and our music doesn't count, it's going to upset the harmony of the whole orchestra. So we owe it to ourselves to be as abundant as we can be, as enriched as we can be. We're selling everyone else short on the essence of who we are. So we need to put that into ourselves. But I think one of the biggest problems when anybody's been facing what you've been facing is that permission to place value upon yourself, time upon yourself, love upon yourself, and that nurturing of yourself, because you'll always find an excuse until you shut that voice up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And um, I'm sure for those who are tuning in, you can think of a time. You can think of a time in your own life when those past experiences have actually impeded you in the present. You spoke about, there comes a time when we need to look at our
Yeah.
patterns, right?
Yes. Yes.
And these patterns, these coping mechanisms, they
Mm,
actually do serve us. So it's not even about judging that, even
no.
like how
Yes.
clever you
Yes.
are for finding a way to survive whatever it was,
Yeah.
right? And it's meant to guide you through a
Yeah.
trial or tribulation, right? You don't have to hold on to it forever.
No. No, I mean, people say to me, how can people share their stories with you? Don't they relive the pain all the time? And I said, no, they've released the pain. So they
Right,
can talk about the events now, and they can talk about what happened to them and change it around happening for them because they were
right,
willing to go through the process. So they're no longer in that pain or in that sorrow. And they can speak about it as this is what happened, but this is whom I became
right,
because of it.
right. And a big piece of that process is feeling those feelings,
You can't
feeling the
avoid them.
pain,
Yeah.
feeling the grief,
Yeah.
feeling the sorrow. Because that's, we when we shut that off, right, we guard our heart. I
Yes.
work with so many spiritual entrepreneurs and healers and people who self-identify as
Mhm.
heart centered or heart based, right? And they are. And many of us who call ourselves that still guard
Yeah.
our heart because that's
Yes.
where we carry our wounds. And
Yeah.
until you're willing to go there and go and feel those feelings without judgment,
Yeah.
without apology, it will continue to stay closed to a certain level. And it will block the energy
Yes.
within your system.
Yes.
It's not until we feel those feelings that we can move the emotions up and out of our body, move the energy up
Yeah.
and out of our body. And that's really
Wow.
like, that's what when I say soul aligned,
Yes.
that's where we start to get to the soul line, because then the downloads can come
Yes.
through, inspiration, and we
Yes.
have the motivation to take action, consistent action on those things. And it's a much more organic
Mhm.
and aligned way of sharing our work with the world versus like, I know I have to be visible, I know I have to do this, everybody's saying I have to do this, so I guess I have to do videos even though I'm terrified to do, like,
Yeah.
that's not how you do your visible. I mean,
Right.
you
Yes.
can do it that way, and there's a better way.
Yeah. It's get to a point that, okay, this may be a little scary, but I'm willing to do it because
Right,
I know I've got a message. You talked about something that I speak about all the time. When the heart is closed, the soul cannot support. The soul has
right,
to come through an open heart. The soul is the divine wisdom that comes through the heart in truth, that
yeah,
then given to the spirit in action for the mind to know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And the reason why we get so blocked and we don't have the knowledge on how to move on is because that closed heart is not receiving the wisdom. So as vulnerable as we feel and as cracked as that heart feels, we have to open up again. And, I've had clients say to me, but how do I do that? How do I do that? I said, simple joys. Go for a walk by the beach or in the park. Listen to the rustle of the leaves with the breeze running through them, the ocean kissing the shore, a
mhm,
child chasing the waves, a dog chasing a stick. Start feeling your face smiling at unusual things, beautiful, simple things. Start feeling the sun shining on you. Start feeling all the beauty out there and let it immerse into your heart, and you'll start seeing your heart not only heal, but start opening up. And the more it opens up, the more that divine wisdom can come through and start the healing. But you can't do it. It's the same with, oxygen. If your body's all crunched up, the oxygen is not coming through. It
Right.
blocks the oxygen to the brain. And this is why, flight or fight, when panic, you cannot make a decision in panic because the
Right.
clarity isn't there.
It's
Take the
not.
deep breath, open it all up, let it come through, and then the clarity is there. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because so many people think it's just heart. No, we need the soul wisdom to speak through the heart, to the heart. And if that
Yes.
heart is closed, then, we're not going to get anywhere.
And that safety piece too,
Yes,
it's like we can be all up in the upper chakras
yes,
and look at the things that have happened to us and how they've actually happened for us.
right.
We can do that from
Yeah,
those upper
yeah,
chakras.
yes.
And if the body is still in that stress
Mm,
response and doesn't feel safety, like and even if the heart's open, it can get the energy can still get stuck. I was working with a client a couple of days ago, and we just had a quick session, a quick 1 hour session. And so when I work with my clients, it's a dance. It's a balance of me leading and following.
mm-hmm.
Because I really believe that we do have the answers within us, and we can access those answers in the right conditions. And so that's what was happening with her. And within that hour, after we were done, she said, I literally have moved 12 years of compacted
Yeah.
trauma in
Because you
this.
just needed to burst through,
Right.
right? Yeah,
And
yeah,
she said she's been sending me a message ever since that session. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all of these
yeah,
downloads, all
yeah.
like all of this clarity is coming in. And that's the power. And it was one session. And she also, sometimes it really depends on the client, it depends on the situation. I have a variety. I don't subscribe to any particular technique or
Mm-hmm.
methodology. I study a lot of things, and I curate tools, and I have my own way of doing things,
Yeah,
right? And sometimes it is a fast thing like that, right?
because they're
Depending on
ready.
people's you're right,
Yeah,
depending on people's level of commitment and their
yes,
readiness.
yes,
And sometimes you got to go slower. And
yeah,
so it's important to work with people that you trust, who you feel safe
yeah.
with, and who can meet you where you are.
Exactly. That's so very important. And there is no one size fits all. There's no one technique that fits all. As
Right.
soon as you start seeing the advertising, I'm the best, and
Yeah.
everybody I've touched. Well, no, because you can't say that, because you can even have people that have had that great breakthrough, and then something comes up, the trigger, and it could
Yeah.
shut them down again if they're not aware. Right. But another thing is you've given them the tools and the skills to actually acknowledge that and go, oh, okay, no, I don't want to be there. And very often I say to people, when those things visit you, it doesn't mean you're back there.
Right.
Right. Something has triggered you to be there. But now you can look at it and go, okay, fine, thank you for visiting, but you may go, because I am no longer that person. Right. I
Right.
have moved on. But it's also a way to look at it and go, gosh, look how far I have moved on, how far I've
Right.
moved away from that pain, from that anguish, where it can come up. And at first it's like, oh, and then I can look at it and go, but no, I'm not going to give you any power. Right. And those things come up sometimes. And it's like, it's okay. I can look at you. You don't have the power anymore. And that can be very revolutionary for people when they can see how far they've come.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I know what that's like to be like, oh my God, haven't I, like, we sometimes think like, okay, I did I've healed this, I've
Yes.
overcome this, and we think it's never going to come back around
Right.
again. And then when it does, we think that something's wrong. And actually, that's part of the process.
Yes.
That's part of transformation,
Mhm.
that it can, dare I say, it will, it will
Yeah.
come back around again, because you're at a different level,
Place.
at a different, I don't even want to say level. You're in a new energy.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you now have a whole other way of receiving that
Mm,
and navigating it. And that's why it comes back again, so that you can rise to the occasion,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And not, it's not, nothing's wrong. This
No.
is this is usually, like, inevitably in transformation, there's going to be a time where things hit the fan.
Yes.
Let's put it that way, right? It's part of the process. It's part of the process. And it's an opportunity to integrate and practice with that new energy.
And to understand that new energy, it is at a higher level, higher frequency, and it's got you. And that sometimes
Right.
kind of looking at it, um, I don't know why, but through this conversation, it's brought up a conversation I had with my husband, so clearly I need to share it. Um, uh, I was also raped when I was young, and I remember sharing it, not at that age, and it was a date rape, but why I was on a date at 14, I don't know. But anyway, um, and I remember sharing it with my husband, my ex-husband, and some years later, during an argument, he threw it up back in my face and
Mm.
said, "You deserved it. You asked for it." And and just went down that road, and I was absolutely flabbergasted that I had given him something so vulnerable, so trusting, and he was throwing it back in my face. Well, that kind of put obviously an enormous wrench because I couldn't trust him again. I couldn't
Right.
ever say anything to him again. So, things started shutting down and shutting down and shutting down. And it's, why he brought that up. It was clearly to hurt, right?
Right.
Um, and I was hurt at the time and it did shut down. But then in hindsight, when I look at it, it's like, how much pain was he in to go
Right.
there? To go there, to do something kind of quite so vile, to throw something back that was given in trust. It's
Right.
that it speaks to the insecurity that he was in, right? But we take it
Yes.
on at the time, and I did. And then it obviously stayed with me. I don't know why. Like it came back up this morning, and I don't know why, but obviously maybe to be in this conversation today,
Mhm.
is that people will come back up and throw things in your face. And
Yes.
yes, it's uncomfortable, it's unpleasant, but no, I'm not there anymore. I know exactly what happened. It's sad that you feel that way, but quite honestly, your opinion is not valid,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
to get to that space where you can say that, it no longer has an effect on me is when you look at it and go, gosh, look how far I've moved on, or, how much you start, you don't really know the measure of the value that you've put upon yourself, that you've given yourself until those type of things happen,
Right.
right? Because then you can look at it and go, that would have hurt before. It
Yeah.
doesn't hurt now. It's just sad that you would do that, right?
Right.
Not sad for me, sad for you. And you can be removed. And it doesn't mean it's pleasant. Actually, it was Trevor Noah being interviewed with Jay Shetty, and he was saying, just you go because you go through the experience and the outcome of it is you're stronger and wiser and everything else doesn't mean you have to enjoy the experience,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, but if we don't go through the experience, how are we going to get out of it and get to that next phase? And what a lot of people want to do is just tell me what to do, tell me what to do. Can I download an app? Is there a 1-2 step? And they don't realize it's an ongoing thing at different levels, at different stages, and different triumphs, and sometimes a pit. And it's something that you are always going to be learning and evolving right to the end of your days,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that, but it doesn't have to be painful and it doesn't have to be hard. It could be exciting. It could be wondrous, right? Just
I
change
love
your
that.
perception.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that story with me. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I had something very similar, same thing, kind of got thrown back in
Mm,
recent, got thrown back in my face. And that was exactly, it did hurt.
yeah.
I also can look at that and say, I'm really proud of how I showed up in
Yeah.
that.
Yes. Yes.
And it did show me like, okay,
Hmm.
this like I am very, very clear about what my boundaries are here. I am very clear about what's mine and what's yours. I know, and you know, I knew it was obvious before this even happened that the level of pain that this person is in.
Yeah.
And it's, you're right, it wasn't pleasant. I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
Exactly.
And at the same time, exactly what you're saying, these things come back up to show us how much we've grown and evolved.
Right. And you know, it's okay to be sad.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay. It's sad that you've brought that up, or it's sad at that memory and not something I want in my life. But at the same time, okay, I acknowledge it. On,
Yeah.
move on, move on.
Right.
Right.
Right. And
You
I
know,
think sometimes we get stuck in the, like, I
yes,
want it to be different, and
right.
we get
And no,
attached to that. Like, it's okay to want it to be
yeah,
different,
but
and
it doesn't mean it's going to be.
doesn't mean it's going to be. Exactly.
You know,
Right.
but I'm always saying this is that our emotions are an indication of where we're at. Look at why we're feeling that emotion, right? If it needs to be released or needs to be embraced, do it. But don't become emotional over your emotions, because then we forget what it's all about.
Right. Right.
I
Mm.
think, you know, a lot of people think that, okay, if I do the work and I take this course, everything's going to be hunky dory and then I can just move on. But no, it isn't. It is like every time a captain goes out to sea, he may have done it 100 times, 1,000 times, but every time that ocean is going to be different.
Right.
But everything that he's learned and all those that experience that he's had, he can navigate that ocean like the back of his hand because he has had the experience. And each experience, whether it's pleasant or not pleasant, he knows how to navigate and get through. And that's the thing about life is that we learn how to navigate. Are unpleasant things going to come up? Absolutely. Do you know how to react to them now? Yes. Are they going to hurt sometimes? Oof, yeah, that wasn't nice. But okay, I know it wasn't me, it's the person going through something. Can I help them, or is it something I just have to move away from? Right. And
Yeah.
and you know,
Yeah. This is reminding me, Sarah, it's something that my own coach teaches. She kind of has her own definition of power, and what you're saying is reminding me of this. And her definition of power is feeling free to show up as who you truly are, speak truth, and receive whatever comes. And I feel like
yes.
that last piece,
Mhm.
receive whatever comes,
Yeah.
like that's really the secret sauce of when you are able, like you said, to navigate, when you're able to receive whatever comes, you're free.
Yes. You know what to absorb, but you know what to wash off.
Right.
Right. And that thing is, there is a sense of peace about it, isn't there? That, you know,
Yeah.
whereas the reaction would have been there, the hurt would have been there, everything would have been up, especially up in an upper chest, up. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
a voice wants to say something because it's so frustrated, it's in pain, it's being attacked, blah, 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 right? But we get, when we're here at this space, when we've done that work, ugh, you know, that was unpleasant. I'm going to take a breath, and I'm either going to inquire where it came from or I'm going to let it go. We
Right.
don't engage in it the way we did before. We don't take it personally like we did before. And there is a sense of peace of going through life because we put our energy where our energy is going to grow. And we don't actually get so much of that negative energy because it's not on our frequency.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then when it does come, it's exactly what you said. It's like you go into, I mean, there may be some reaction, right? But it doesn't stay as long. You
Yeah,
have the capacity to go in and take care of yourself in that moment,
exactly.
instead of
Exactly.
wanting, expecting or wanting the person who's attacking you to take care of you.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I've got myself here. I like, this is triggering something within me. What is it reflecting back to me? Is there a lesson here?
Mm.
And sometimes, I think that there's a lot of messaging in the spiritual community that there's always a lesson there, that there's always some sort of reflection of something um, going on internally. And yes, and I want to say it's not always
Sometimes it
something that
just
needs to be
is.
fixed, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah,
It's sometimes it's just to show you you've
yeah,
done the work and you
right,
know what to do,
right.
right?
Oh, thank God
Sometimes
I'm not there anymore.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not there anymore. Sometimes it's like, okay, I need to set a boundary with this person.
Mm,
It's sometimes it's as simple as that. Sometimes
yeah.
it's not like, oh, I need to take a deep dive and there's something wrong and I have to do more healing. No, it's like sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's simply, what do you want instead?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like a lot of people have heard this then, and they still might be kind of thinking, what's it to do with business? Well, you work with people in business because a lot of the reason why people fail in business is that they're trying to produce their business in the expectation from society rather than from the passion and commitment from within. The people that make it in business are those that are aligned with the business because their business and themselves are at one in energy. And again, people are going to buy you before they buy from you. And if you have a service, they want to know, I can, can I connect to this person? Are we on the same vibe? Is that frequency there? So therefore, I know I can listen to them. I know they can hear me. I know that the service is going to be something that's going to serve me. But if it's constantly trying to produce what you think is the external idea, then it's going to be short-lived. When it's coming from your business and whatever it is you're doing is coming from the internal, it's going to take roots and grow.
Yeah, yeah, and it's also it's that, and there's a connection
Mm.
to a higher source too,
Yes.
right?
It's your compass, it's your guiding system. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And so sometimes our egos get in the way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Definitely, it happens. It's part of being human. And it's all a big adventure, really, because we may be getting the wisdom, we may be getting the downloads, but our ego is interpreting it versus
Yes.
our soul, right? And so
Yeah.
sometimes we have to fine tune our discernment.
We also have to understand, where is our ego coming from?
Right.
Is it in defense? Is it in insecurity? Is it trying to make an impression just to be seen and heard? Or is it coming from the soul ego, where it is just wanting to shine bright as it is, for
Mm,
whom can see it? And
right.
there is, if it is important of how many followers you have, is it is important that you're number one bestseller, if it is important that everybody adore you, then that outside adulation is not going to feed you. Not like your inside love and
Right.
acceptance. And you may reach the top of your game, but does that mean you're happy?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So
Right.
everything is an inside out job. Everything is that connection of soul, heart, and spirit. And if we're not attached to that, then we're living a facade life rather than a true life. And people want to do business with people when they know, I don't know what it is about her, but there's just something I really connect to. I didn't even know I wanted that product. But after speaking to it, it wasn't the sales pitch. It's just that she inserted it into my life in a way that I didn't know it was missing. Right.
Yes.
And those are the
Yes.
kind of businesses, clients you want. And that's the kind of business person you want to be, that they will refer you. They'll come back to you over and over again because they know they can trust you. They like you. It isn't about your next six figure, or your next this, or your next that. It's about you and how comfortable they feel with you. And of course, the best form compliment you can have from a client is referral, right? When
Yeah.
somebody refers, it means that they trust that you're going to take this person and they're going to be in good hands.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you brought up some of these topics. I coming from a traditional marketing background and starting out my business, like I I was one of those people who
Yeah.
said those things, that said, and it's not that I'm saying that it was wrong or anything like that. there are pieces of some of that advice of being a number one bestseller. I mean, it doesn't mean the same thing that it does
Today.
today. It doesn't mean the same thing as it
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
Right. It kind of depends. Kind of being a number one bestseller on Amazon. I'm sorry, that doesn't hold the
right.
credibility and the weight
Yeah.
that maybe being a New York Times bestseller
Yes.
does. Right. Um, and I would say right up until 2019, that was basically what I was sharing with,
Mm,
like, that was the philosophy
yeah.
that I was sharing with clients. And I do believe that it's important for clients and people and entrepreneurs to position yourself,
Hmm.
to have strong messaging, to have branding, to shine confidently,
Yes,
right? And there were
absolutely.
elements of kind of my old training that started to not resonate with me.
Mm.
And in 2019, I was like, you know what? It was the most successful year of my business, and I wasn't happy. I was like,
Exactly.
something is off. It's
Yes.
not aligned.
Not feeling it's not
I'm
feeding
not
you. Yeah.
right. I wasn't feeling it. In fact, I was feeling burnt out, and I was
Yeah.
like, something just feels off about this. And it was that soul piece. It was
Mm.
that, like, something is changing within me. Something needs to change with my business.
And now that you have inserted the soul compass into igniting the heart and the spirit, and you're working with clients and showing them how to do the same, how have you found your business has changed?
Oh gosh, I'm going to be honest. It's been a challenging transition
Mm.
because so 2019. This was summer of 2019 where I was like, I'm going to make some changes.
Yeah. And then BC
Um,
happened.
yes,
COVID.
right.
Before
And
COVID.
by early 2020, I had notified my clients I'm going to be doing. I didn't even know what I was going to be doing. I
Mm.
was just like, I'm changing my business.
Mhm.
And then I signed up for a year-long uh, training, coaching program and coach certification program to become a transformational coach, based in this whole concept of being sourced
Mm.
and connecting with your soul and being soul aligned. And that was a big investment.
Mhm.
I had no clients, and then the pandemic hit.
The dear old
So
pandemic. Yes.
it was a huge leap of faith.
Yes.
And I had that experience of having the conversation with my coach and being like, I don't know, there's just something, I don't something's telling me to say yes to this. There's something about her, like, and I had been following her for a while and had engaged with her at other times. And so there was a level of trust there.
Mhm.
But it was a big investment. It was
Yeah.
scary.
Yes.
It was scary, especially with, like, okay, I just let go of my clients. This pandemic thing has
Yes.
started, and I'm putting all of this out. And I had a certain amount of money to get me probably about halfway through that program. And I thought, oh, I'll just need a few months to do this transition.
Yeah.
So I said yes. And like, it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. And because I trusted and I listened, I ended up getting a couple of grants that paid for that program.
Mhm.
And then I started to really step into marketing this new piece of transformational coaching. And it's just now starting to pick up.
Mhm.
So I, I share that because it's like sometimes we are asked to take this kind of leap of
Yes.
faith. And the thing that has continued to keep me going is that connection, is that connect, keeping my heart open, feeling all the feeling the fear, feeling the anxiety, voicing it, asking for support from healers and coaches and colleagues. Um, not being afraid to say, hey, I'm looking for clients, like,
Yeah,
I'm available for
exactly.
clients, right? Or I'm looking for support in this area. And also, connecting with source and
Yes.
asking, what is the next step? what what do I need to see about this situation that is going to keep me moving along this path? Am I on the right path? Is this the
Yes,
right? And trusting the response.
I
It's
hear you. I've been doing
it's a
this 10
lot,
years.
you know?
It is. I mean, I came out of investing every penny I had to the point of bankruptcy and living out of my car in a quantum technology motor. Nothing wrong with the motor, nothing wrong with the technology. It was bad timing and bad people. And it ended up with me with nothing. And then um, part of my physical thing is I do suffer from depression, whether it is empathic depression, environmental depression, or physical depression, in whichever way it manifests. And I wrote an article on it, and I have to be of service when I'm like that. Otherwise, I feel useless. So I was out there kind of
Mhm.
serving some people on Facebook, whatever, and somebody saw it, went to my site, which still had all my coaching platform on it. And she said, "Oh, I'd like you to be a part of my podcast network." And I said, "Well, what's a podcast?" So I didn't know 11 and a half years ago. And I had to pay for it, and I didn't have any money. Somebody paid my first month. I don't even know where I came up with the money. I didn't have money for rent for this, but somehow I made it happen. And I was with her for 13 years, and it was live. So it was great education, right? Because I pressed all the wrong buttons in the first show. It was hilarious.
Right.
And then it was like, I want to start my own. I didn't know how to start my own. You know, my friend set up the kind of the template, and then for a while kind of did the audios for me. And then I had to just kind of, no, that doesn't work. Let's try this. And as I got more comfortable with being able to do this and able to do that, and I'm like that. I fortunately have a son-in-law who's brilliant technically. And when I run into problems, he helps me, which is fantastic. But I had to learn how to do it. If I really wanted to do this, I had to learn how to do it. But the more and more I did it, the more and more I came alive. The more and more
Right.
it nurtured me, and the more and more I discovered that no matter what the news is showing me, I'm quite honestly the scum of the world. I actually get to interview the nectar. I get to
Yeah.
interview the
Wow.
people that have stepped into that higher vibration, that higher frequency, that have already tilted the scale. And they're not talking about it out in that mainstream because nobody would hear. They're talking to people that are ready to come. I'm looking for something and my soul wants to awaken, or I don't know what's happening to me right now, but I'm in that transition. And I always say, listen, learn, and apply, right? Because when you're listening, it's to learn something, to apply something, even if it's one step in a different direction.
Right.
Apply, because this is why I do the shows, and this is why you're on this path, is that you're still taking all the experience that you've had from marketing. And let's face it, doesn't matter what we're in, we've all got to market ourselves. Marketing has changed quite considerably. It's now
Yeah.
a solo thing that you've got to get out there and do and know how to do. And it changes from moment to moment. And the people that stand out in marketing are those that do come from the heart and the soul, because people don't know why, but they feel them. They
They
feel the
they
message,
do.
and
People
it makes the
feel
difference.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we want to feel it. I think this is the beautiful thing about our consciousness being turned up. And I've been saying this for the last 12 years. The universe is turning up our consciousness a notch at a time. And the more and more we awaken, the more and more we realize what we're doing wrong and how we want to put things right. And how can I be a part of this where I feel something awaken me inside and I need to follow this path? And they're changing their practices. They're changing the way of looking and doing in life. And it's a beautiful time to be a part of it. And you've done that work. You've gone through that process. You have that program. So the people that have done their work, and they're now ready to take their commitment, their business up to that next level. You're a perfect match because you understand the frequency they're on and how now to promote and advertise themselves in that light.
And that, right, exactly. From that place, in
Yeah,
that energy, in that light.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's the importance, is that, you don't want to go to someone just because they, it's like the flash that you used to get on the sites, which was so offensive, flash, 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 thing. There are some people that are like that. And it's like, yeah, it looks like they're getting all the attention, but how can it hold it? You
Hmm.
don't, a car crash can grab your attention. Do you want it to be held? The thing is enough to send out a prayer to the person, but you want something that grabs your attention, but keeps you engaged. And those are the people that do come from the soul, heart, spirit space, when their why is because they do want to make a difference. They do want to see people succeed. This is their instrument that they're helping people with to discover their own instrument. And it's a beautiful time to be alive and in that space. So I have no worries about you getting abundant clients, because you're going to get the ones that are there. They're going to hear you. They're going to see you. You're no longer invisible. And they're going to connect with you first and foremost on that vibrational level, that frequency level. And then everything else you do will just fall into place for them and for you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I believe it and I claim it. And it's yeah, I mean, I the world is hungry
Yes.
for this. We've been cut off from our soul for so
Way too long.
long.
Way too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also realize, everything we've talked about, like the pain can come back up, but it's no longer the pain, it's the incident. And you
Right.
can look at it and go, oh, okay, I see you. I'm so pleased I'm nowhere near you anymore. Right. And you realize how much your life is, it's like a beautiful deep breath. You know
Mm,
how to take that deep breath and deal with whatever's in front of you. You're not going to react, right? Your reaction
right.
is going to come from that space, that inner space, where it's going to deduce what it needs to react to and not just react for the sake of reacting.
Right. It's it feels very expansive too, right?
Mm,
Like you expand your capacity to move through the world
yes.
when you do this kind of work. And frankly, like we need more people who can sit
Mm,
in those deep dark places
yes.
and can be with that and
Yes.
can be grounded and present in order for change to happen. We need to be able to go to those depths in order to feel those heights and to be balanced in between. And if we're limiting how deep we can go or
Mm,
how low, I guess, how low we can feel. I don't even want to say low. That's not
deep,
the right
deep.
word.
How deep we
Yeah,
can
we'll
feel.
just go with
Yeah.
deep. We'll just go with deep. Um, those denser energies,
Yes.
right? It's not, they're not designed to pull us down and keep us stuck. They're designed for us to expand our capacity
Yeah.
to be with a range.
Yes. Yes. Part of the
So, yeah,
orchestra. We can
right.
play with all
Exactly.
the other instrumentalists, right? Because we know how to do it in harmony. That's the important thing.
Yes.
And that, this is the thing is, it doesn't matter who you are or what you are in life, whether you're a solopreneur, a business, or whether you're a hobbyist or whatever you are, we all need to know how to present ourselves, market ourselves in some form or other. Even if you're just on social media, there's a way of doing it that is interactive and participatory and kind and illuminating, as a part, opposed to just be reacting. And we've got to realize we're all an algorithm. We're all
Mm,
on that energy wave, and energy attracts like energy. And when we put out that energy, we're going to draw that energy in. And then what you do with your expertise is help people channel their energy in their business in a way that opens their business up to the right energies they're
right.
looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in a good space. I think you're in a good place. I think I love, I think the universe is certainly with you, and you're exactly what people need right now. That are in business, that is solopreneur or, whatever. It's what we need right now, because people are tired of fake news. They're tired of fake advertising. They're tired of the hijacking that goes on. And they want to know, is it real? Can I feel it? Can I trust it? Does my core believe in it? And when it does,
Right.
then it's right. It's right. I can trust it.
Yeah, I really feel like, we've been taught um it's not easy to be our true selves in a world that teaches us to be fake,
Exactly. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that's changing. That's changing.
Yes.
I
Thank
was listening to
God.
one of your other episodes and you were talking about how we're becoming more savvy.
Yeah.
We're becoming more savvy and we can spot those things
Mhm.
And we want something
Yeah,
different.
we do. Yeah, stop selling as the bill of goods.
Yeah.
Unless it's really coming, people say to me, who do I interview? And I say, those that come from the heart.
Mhm.
Why? Because I want the heart and soul. I want that builds their character. That is their why. I call these the why shows because it's why are you doing what you're doing? What has taken you on this journey for this to be so compelling for you that you must do it? And when you get to that point in your life, it's that no matter what, I have to do this,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Right.
Oh yeah,
And
I have that all the time. I
yeah,
can't not do this. I can't.
exactly.
I might be
Exactly.
shaking in my boots. I can't not do this.
Nope.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing is sometimes you feel you're riding the walking the cosmic tightrope. But at the same
Right.
time is that while you're busy balancing, saying, can I do it? The universe is holding us up, saying,
Right.
yes, you can get across on this tightrope. And, it is scary at times. I know I've been doing this a long time. I do my shows by donation. It doesn't always mean, oh, but somebody said, the moment there's so many shows you do, 8 a week, you must make an awful lot of money. And I go, no, because the word donation is something that people just don't see anymore, right?
Right.
That we've become so jaded with so much that people have become headliners and they see a headline, they see a spot of something, they're not willing to invest the time in the content. Well, as I say nowadays, I used to be the hare running towards that finish line because I could see the finished picture and I want everyone else to see it. I'm happy to be the tortoise now
Mm.
because I am taking in everything on my journey, all the wonderful sticks and twigs and leaves and people I meet along the way. I love it because I've slowed down to really what's important in life. And I think that is, when you feel enriched and abundant in who you are and why you are and what you're doing, then you most certainly know you're on the right path. And that always
Yes.
comes out in no matter whatever else you're doing business or not.
Yes. And that slowing down
Yeah.
piece is that's where some of the magic is,
Yeah. Oh
because
gosh. Yeah.
that's we have to slow down in order to be present.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And where is the gift? It's in the present,
Right.
right? And
Exactly.
and there are times that you put one toe in front of the other, one foot in front of the times you take the stride. And when the times are right. But if we're so busy chasing the illusion on the outside and not
Right.
paying attention to where we're meant to be, we're constantly missing our step.
Yes. Yes. Oof.
I mean, how many
Oh.
people have I interviewed that started this business because they were good at it, because they trained in all of that, only to realize that and disconnected with it. I don't even like doing it and go off and do something totally different that had been calling to them through their entire lives. And now they really are in heaven with what they're doing. Are they as rich? Are they as big and loud and everything as they were before? No, but they're more enriched and more abundant, and the people they serve are more enriched because of it.
Yeah. And that piece of uh the being held on the cosmic
Yeah,
tightrope, it's also like knowing that we have a very narrow what's the how do I want to say this? We think that there's only one way to be
mm.
financially
Yes,
supported, right? And we have a very narrow scope of what that is. And when we're in our divine assignment, we're going to be supported
yeah,
in all ways,
yeah,
financially, joy, happiness, fulfillment, meaning, all of the ways. It might not happen on our timeline,
right, exactly,
right?
exactly. But it is also, I had a girlfriend here this last weekend, and she is a person that belongs to this book club and that book club and picket pole and this and that, and she's a pack person. Right. So she loves a pack. She loves people and she knows everyone. And she's the year of the pig, which is extremely friendly and loyal. And she is that to everybody. And I envy that sometimes because I'm not a pack person. I realize that I am the person that will always be wandering down the road, speaking to whom I need to speak to along the way. and that I'm not meant to be a part of a group or a particular tribe. I'm the traveler. And it can make
Mm.
sometimes things lonely because I'd like to. I'd like to kind of stop and absorb for a while or even lay down some roots. And my roots are going, can I land here? Can I land there? And the universe says, nope, keep on walking. And so there's that human side of me that would love to settle down, but my spiritual side of me will always be in flight, will always be on that journey. And I think it's kind of realizing who you are. You get to
Right.
recognize who you are. Are you meant to be part of the pack? Are you part of that team? Um, or are you meant to be that person that ignites the heart and souls as you go on the journey of life? And that is your journey. And it's not like anything's against you. It's just that was the role that was chosen for you. And I think if we stop fighting the role and embrace it, and then it has a different meaning.
Yeah, and that goes back to really knowing yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like knowing yourself deeply. I love the you had mentioned nectar earlier,
Mm.
and so when you were speaking to this now, like, oh, you're the pollinator.
Yes,
Like
yes. Yeah.
you go to the different groups and you
Yeah.
know
Yeah, exactly.
you
And this is,
sprinkle some pixie dust over here and you pollinate over here, and that's the beauty of your essence, right? And so being able to embrace that
yeah.
instead of fighting against it. And I talk about that a lot with my clients too, with
Yes.
your marketing. Like not everybody is meant to. This is one of the things that's challenging
Mm.
in the digital age is, everybody's got a system or
Yeah.
they've got a blueprint or, do my thing. Well, that's the thing that worked for them. It may
Yes.
work for you.
Yeah.
It may be a framework
Hmm.
that provides guidance for you, but what do you like? What are your strengths? What's
Yeah.
your communication style? What are you drawn to? What feels
Right.
alive? What activities feel alive to you?
It's a
Because that's what
recipe,
you're
isn't
going to
it?
do.
I mean,
Those are the things you'll do, and those are the things that will be successful for you because they are aligned.
exactly. And it's like when somebody gives you a recipe and you go, no, I think we need a touch of this and a
Right.
touch of that, right? It doesn't mean you have, there's some recipes you do have to actually follow grain by grain, otherwise, they may not come out, and that's okay. There's certain things, yes, that system works, and that's what you have to apply. But the decorating could be different. And when you're creating something, a little of this or a little of that, or I'm going to present it in this way, I'm going to put it with that, and you make it your own. I watch these singing competitions where they may take an old song and the artist, the true artist, it can bring the essence of who they are and take that song where that song, but the reinterpretation of it,
Mm-hmm.
it's them. It's
Right.
who they are. And that's what we're only asking people to be, is step into the essence of who you are. You are enough. You're here to do enough. And make sure that when whatever business you're in, that you are marketing yourself, not in an illusion, not in an expectation, but in the truth of who you are and your true conviction in order to serve your clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fact,
Exactly.
people are
And
buying
people,
you, right, before they're going to buy
right.
from you. They want to buy the authentic piece, the
Right.
original, not the knockoff.
And they feel that. They feel
Yes.
that. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything and
Yes.
they feel it from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. If the thing is, the old saying, stop trying to be someone else, everyone, they're taken. Just be yourself. And it's so very, very true. There's two C's I don't like is competition and comparison. Now, I know that in certain things that, you've got a product, somebody else has got a product, you're going to compare the differences to know how to market it. That's different. But don't compare yourself to someone else,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
There are trillions of people who do podcasting. They do it their way. I do it my way. I've had numerous people, why don't you do it like so-and-so? Because they're already doing it, right? I'm going to do it like Sarah. That's the only way I know how to do it. And that's the
Right.
same in all of your business. You can have the techniques, the skills, the tools on how to do it, but you've got to do it from who you are and
Yeah. You
why
make
you're
it,
doing it.
you
Mm,
make it your own.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's important. So there's so many people, and a great deal many people that I interview here that are those solopreneurs or small businesses. And really, quite honestly, what we're looking at is kind of the less of the big corporations and people leaving them and going out on their own of the small industries. And it's change cycle completely. And they're the people making the difference because they can be engaged and they know what the importance of engagement and really the commitment to really serving their client. And that's why we're moving away from those big corporate big things and more to the small, kind of more intimate relate, because you are building a
Yes.
relationship with your client. And that comes as, do they feel that they can trust you enough to build that relationship? And whatever it is you're promoting out there, that must always be the invitation. Inspiration begets invitation.
Mm.
Inspire them from who you are from the inside out, and it will invite them to want to know more.
Yeah, and if by chance any corporate leaders are listening to this, like this is really, you hit the nail on the head, Sarah. That, like, we've been seeing the mass exodus,
Yes.
right? I opted out. I was in corporate marketing, and then I was at an agency, and my agency days, I mean, that was a dream job. It wasn't my dream.
Right.
uh,
Right.
so I opted out in 2013, and it was 2013. um and and part of what's missing
Mm.
in corporations, in institutions,
Yes.
in government, in
Mm-hmm.
education, dare I say, basically all of our major systems,
In our religion.
is our religion. It's the
Yes.
soul piece.
Yes. Yes, it
And
is.
so if you
Absolutely.
happen to be affiliated
Mm.
with and listening and affiliated, like, this is where we're moving.
Right.
This is what people actually want.
It's what they need.
And it's what they need.
It is. It's what as a human race we need. We've done
Yes.
it the other way for how many
Right.
centuries? And what have we seen? Repeat of war, hate, greed, war, hate, greed, war, hate, greed. Where are we seeing creativity? Now, we have seen massive amount of creativity with technology, which is great because it now allows us to do this and to do that and expand on ourselves. But if the human consciousness has not risen, it's like with the argument with AI. It's wonderful asset. I use it. It's great. But if in the wrong hands with the wrong intention, it could be evil. What are we focusing on? The evil. We're not focusing on the good because we've been trained now to look at the
Mhm.
negative and not the positive. Algorithm, if we feed the positive, we feed the possibilities, we feed how it can serve and how broad that can be, that algorithm grows. If you're going to always feed the negative side of things, which doesn't mean, especially with the writers' strike right now going on, they want the security that their jobs aren't going to go to AI. 100%, yes, that's got to be in their contract, that you're not going to suddenly delete them and put in AI. And AI is nowhere near ready to completely take over on that anyway. Use it as a tool. Do not use it at the expenditure of people. Sensibility there. But at the same time, it's like, stop treating it as the devil, because evil is evil in evil hands, right? And
Mm.
not in positive hands. And we can see incredible things done with people from that heightened state. So it's kind of come on in to these beautiful cosmic waters, coming in and embrace your soul, coming in and feel that calmness, that serenity, that joy, that expansion of life and love and the reason to get up every day. And you will see in the slowing down, the calming down, and the being more present, how much more fulfilling it is. And more people that are taking that journey and being filled with that, more and more the people that are laying the ground for others to follow. And it's exciting.
It is exciting. It is. It feels juicy and yummy
Yes.
and alive, and that's it's astounding to me, the magic
Yeah.
and miracles that I get to experience
Mm.
every single day. You got to be looking for them. You got to
Yeah.
be open to, you don't even have to be looking for them. You just have to be open
Being present and open,
and be
it will come to
present.
you
Right,
right.
exactly.
The teacher will appear when the student is ready. It's the same with listening to a podcast, listening to a TED talk, interacting on social media with people that you like to follow, or watching somebody's conversation and participating in it. Participation, integration, if that's the thing, is be present in life. Don't stop ignoring it. Stop burying your head. A lot of people think spirituality is completely switching off from life altogether and going into la la land. No,
Right.
it
No.
certainly isn't. It is about enhancing the gift that you are so that it can be of service to human, animal, and planet kind, right? We are the
Yeah.
solution we seek if we can get out of our own way.
Yes, yes. And part of transformation is those times where you do need to, you may need that time of solitude and reflection. And we have this kind of concept of, Buddha in the mountains kind of
Kumbaya.
thing. And that's enlightenment. No, that's not enlightenment. Enlightenment is actually receiving the healing and receiving the lessons, and then integrating that within and going back out into the world in
Yes,
that new energy and
yes,
sharing that and having an impact, have that ripple effect
yeah,
out in the world.
exactly. Your retreat is to recoup, revive, renew, and to bring out, to serve. I mean, we're all here
Yes.
to serve one another. When we get to understand that we're here to contribute, this is rent that we're paying by contributing, by serving. This is the rent that we're paying here on earth. We are spiritual beings having a human existence. When we actually merge the human existence with the spirit, we're now living a whole existence,
Mhm.
because the spirit can't touch whole taste like we can. And when you put that spirit in the touch and the taste, the sensuality of our senses, how it opens up, how everything has more magnification, is that beautiful illumination of when we slow down and we savor, and we enjoy that nectar of the moment, of the taste, of the touch, of the environment. And then we truly understand the gift of life in itself, and we stop chasing illusions.
Right, right. It's such a rich experience.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
And so, whatever marketing you need doing in your business, or, you want to start a business and you go like, it's like, this is my passion. This is what I love to do, but is there a market for it? I wouldn't know the first thing of how to market myself. And the thing is, you're already halfway there because you have the passion of why you want to do it, but you need somebody that can take the essence of your passion and your conviction and your why and market you in a way that the right audience is going to receive you. Because it's
Yes.
not one side, your clients aren't going to receive, put it out there for everyone. It's people that are on the frequency, within that frequent range, that are going to be drawn to them. And
Yes.
you
Yes,
don't
exactly.
want everybody, folks. You don't.
Exactly. You don't necessarily want everybody. Well,
Right.
yeah, you don't. You
Yep.
don't want everybody. And especially for new entrepreneurs, that there can be, it's not true for everybody, but there can be that fear, right? The fear of like, I need to be all things to all people.
Yes.
And there's a level of trust there. There's a level of faith that you have to have, like work with a lot of people,
Yeah.
like work with different people to get a sense of what works for you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I, I think another thing in marketing is it's it's shifted over the years from all about the company, all about the company, all about the company, to all about the customer, all about the client, all about
Yeah.
you out there. And now we're moving into, it's about us, it's about you and me, it's about what can
Synergy.
we create together,
Mm.
right? And so part of the marketing process is getting really clear about what's for me and what's not for me. And sometimes you do have to work with a variety of people at first for new entrepreneurs out there. It's okay to not know from day one what
Yeah.
your niche is or who
Yes.
your ideal client
Right.
is. Work with a variety of people to define that. And don't be afraid to say no to
Yes.
those people who are not for you.
Right.
when the time comes,
exactly.
because
Yeah,
that leaves the door open for those who are for you.
right. Yeah. And it's also, don't be rigid. Like, I love these kind of
Yes.
conversations. These are absolutely up my alley. And I know for many people who listen, this is the reason why they tune in. However, I do have a show coming up, which is rather clinical, and it's on breast mass and mammograms and how to save our lives through that. So that is a public service. And I know that it's probably going to be kind of quite dry and very factual. And that means, it's okay because it's serving us as a whole, especially as women, with knowledge we may not have known. So sometimes you have to be a little flexible on what you're
Mhm.
presenting or why you present it, because there's an underlining importance that is bigger than, when they're not on the same spiritual level as me, I can't do it.
Mhm.
No, no, it's the intent of their why and whom they're trying to reach so important that the message needs to get out there. And that is what you look at. So it's also being flexible. What tree would you be if you were a tree?
Oh my gosh, I love that you asked me about this. I have been reading a book on Celtic spirituality,
Hmm.
and and trees are a big piece of it. And
Yes.
so it's funny
Yes.
that, wow, what would I be? Mm. Oh, you know what tree? I love the dogwood tree.
Hmm.
I actually have one right outside my window. And the reason why I love the dogwood tree, I don't know, do you know what chimera is?
Yes, I do, but it's for people who are
It's like,
listening.
yeah, so I'm not sure I'm going to define this right. Um, it's kind of like this magical thing. Well, it seems I call it practical magic
You're
because
right.
dogwood has like this chimera trait where um, its flowers
Mm.
are not flowers. It's
Mhm.
berries and leaves. So
Mhm.
chimera is basically like it presents one way, but it's actually
Yeah,
something else,
exactly. Which we
right?
are.
Yes. So I think I might be a dogwood.
Right. Neat. I like that. I'm a willow. Um,
Oh, okay.
and I've become strong rooted with a very good thick trunk with many, many branches, but I'm always willing to flow in the wind.
Ooh, I
I
love that.
and so that wind is extreme because I'm an air sign, so wind is extremely important to me. So water, trees, and breeze are very important to me. But
Mm,
I love that wind. I love the movement of it, and my branches are strong enough to be blown in any gale.
mm.
But then there'll always be that strength there. And I love also the way the willow tree comes down as
Oh, they're
shelter and everything.
beautiful.
So
Yes.
I've already so my ashes are going to be in the ground with the willow tree. Put a
Love
park
that.
bench there and come and talk to me. That's what I'm
I
going to be
love
doing.
that.
So it is interesting when we look at, because you will love Judy Dench's documentary on trees. I think you can find it. It was with BBC.
Okay.
So if you look it up on YouTube, but they're just the synergy, the way the trees talk to each other, the optics that are there, and it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't say, well, you're a willow, you've got to get out of here. It doesn't care. Oh, there may be primary woods of this or woods of that, but if you're an odd tree, that doesn't matter. If you've fallen down, it doesn't matter. New life comes from it. Or a tree may split, but another tree comes out of it. And
Hmm.
it's kind of the metaphor for life, where we're all different. We're all going to grow at different stages. Some of us are going to fall, but that doesn't mean, we're not important. And I think that's the forest gets along with each other. It doesn't have an
Yeah.
argument with the tree next to it. So, maybe we should take a lesson from the forest. And the communication is deep rooted, very deep rooted. And the branches are always forever reaching up, except for a
Yes.
willow tree. So, I think the forest, there's so much to learn by nature. If we look at nature, there's always a reason in nature. There's always a reason. So,
Yes, absolutely. And I love that tree analogy of like the deep roots and
yes,
the connection with the earth, and then the trunk really kind of being,
the
it's
steadfastness,
a
the core.
metaphor,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Like it's
yeah.
a metaphor for our world, for our life,
Our
right?
strength.
And
Yes,
our strength,
yes,
right? And then stretching up to the
yes,
cosmos.
yes.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And providing shelter and substance for life.
Right. Right.
Yeah. That's the thing is that if we could get out of our limitations and truly look at the essence of the abundance of who and what we are, we realize we are so much to each other. And, you know, and we're willing to share, and we're willing to care, and we're willing to come together, then we really will see all that angst the world be resolved, because we're the ones who screwed it up, but we're also the ones that can save it. It's really down to choice. And that choice is, how much are you going to raise your consciousness and step into your essence? So no matter what you're doing, you are being the solution to this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've
It's
done
taking
that.
responsibility.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Accountability and responsibility, 100%, totally. So somebody is inquiring whether they're on the same vibe as you and whether you can help them click in their business. How do they reach out to you? Do you have a conversation with them first? What's the process?
Yes. So I love to have conversations first to see if there's a fit. I also have you can go to my website,
Mhm.
GayleNowak.com.
Can you spell that
That
out for people who are listening?
Sure, it's GayleNowak, GayleNowak.com. There's all kinds of free content and resources there. So if you just want to peruse around and see if you vibe, there's tips, you can connect with all my social media there. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube and Instagram. So all of those details are there. There's information about my services. If you want to be a part of my community, I have a little gift for the listeners today that will, you can sign up for that, and then you can be a part of my community and receive communication and conversation from me through that. And yeah, for anybody that's wanting to work together, we start with a conversation. Sometimes I have free workshops. I actually have a free workshop coming up next week, or donation-based workshop
Right,
coming up
yes.
next week. So I tend
Which
to
will be
do those
this
on,
week, because you'll be coming out next week.
right,
The week
July
of the 25th.
26th.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Um, so I do those on a regular basis too. So you can come and be a part of a workshop, and we have conversation there. And then sometimes people will just sign up from those workshops. If I'm not having a workshop, we can just hop on the phone, have a conversation together, talk about what's going on specifically for you, what your goals are, what kind of things you feel like might be standing in your way, and if it's a fit for us to work together. So
Exactly.
it's not high pressure. It's not, I'm looking for committed clients. If I can help you right then and there in the call, and you're happy to go on your way, that works for me too. I mean, I'm here to serve. So I'm not here to force anybody or have to convince you or anything like that. So
You either click or you
um,
don't.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's either for you or it's not for you. So
exactly. Yeah.
that's fine. That's fine. But
And
yeah, there's a
and
whole
kind
bunch of
of
ways to engage with me.
right, soul enlightenment is really where you're at, right? It's like, when the frequency is right, when the soul is being awakened, now you can take them to that next level.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and I do have that gift, the talk to your heart assessment. We
Hmm.
talked about having that open heart and really taking the time to connect into your heart. And this is a tool that you can use for that process. It's a downloadable PDF and meditation to help you get out of your head, get into your body, get into your heart, get present, and have a conversation. Have a
Yeah.
conversation about all the areas of your life.
Yes.
And the PDF will walk you through a process that will help you reveal maybe some things that are hidden from your view, or reveal some things that are really wonderful that
You
you can
weren't paying attention
celebrate.
to. Yes. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
exactly. How many things do we not pay attention to because we've let something else overshadow it? And it's like,
Right.
but it was there all the time,
Right.
right? So yeah.
Exactly.
And of course you're it's Gayle, the story stylist.com, LinkedIn, Gayle Nowak. Instagram, Gayle Nowak, YouTube, Gayle Nowak, and Facebook, Sage Sensation. So they can find you all on those as well.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I love it when people's souls have awoken and, you can just feel the spirit. I mean, everything about this talk today has been so heightened and illuminating, but at the same time, so core grounding, right? Really relaxing and in the sense that the core is just feeling very at peace while everything else is ascending. So thank you for taking the journey, you taking that risk, because yes, for some people it's like, I don't know if I can, the bread and butter on the table or this and that. Well, not at all the times can you go, I'm just going to do it, but you can find other ways of doing it. But if your soul is tagging at you, if your spirit is saying you're going in the wrong direction, for God's sake, please pay attention, please. Because the cosmic 2x4, when it can
Mm.
wackaroo you sometimes, can literally take you down to ashes and have you a phoenix being reborn. And that can sometimes, be a little harder. So if you can pay attention to the signs and start integrating it in your life, paying attention, taking the journey now, it's not going to be so hard. And I can promise you, once you get over here, you'll understand what we're talking about.
Yes. Beautiful.
Thanks so much for being with us here today, Gayle.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate the opportunity. Love the conversation.
Yeah, I do too. And folks, you are the illumination in your own life. You've got to be it for your own life first. When you shine bright in your own life, in your own enrichment and your own abundance, now you want to know how to share it. Well, Gayle's here to help you how to share it and hone it into something that it can now start serving other people. But first and foremost, folks, you got to serve yourself. Until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.